Well, let's start here on this end. We have the heavy machine gun, which is a M2. The soldiers called it a Mall Deuce. It shot a 50 caliber round. It would reach out several hundred yards or half a mile and hurt somebody when it hit them. It wasn't very portable. The portable machine gun was the 1919 A4. Now, these two items are World War II era, but they're still in use today. This is in a different format. You won't recognize it, but the 50 caliber basically has not changed in 75 years. And they're both on tripods. And then over here we have a web gear, World War II era, Canteen Bayonet. This carried their ammunition for the M1 Garand. And then we have a bolo knife, that little heavier blade. It was used for chopping like a vegetation and whatever. And then we had the bayonet. This is actually dates from World War I, but it was also used in World War II, and some of them, they cut them off, and because the blades were so long and yet they were unwieldy. And the most important thing was the New Testament. Now, this New Testament was issued to all the soldiers that wished to have one, and it had a metal plate, and the soldiers would wear them in this pocket over their heart. And there's documentation that this New Testament actually saved soldiers' life, with a bullet hitting the plate, dissipating the energy, and might hurt them a little bit, but wouldn't kill them. This is a machete, mostly used in the Pacific Theater of Operations to cut in vegetation, and it also made a good fighting knife. This is a T-handled shovel used in trenching. Every unit had a medic. In European Theater of Operations, the medics wore armbands, and they painted their helmets with the Red Cross. Okay? They marked their gear with Red Crosses. The Germans and Italians honored the medics. The Pacific Theater of Operations, the medics were a target. Artillery Luger, you can tell an artillery Luger by the 8-inch barrel. Okay? The infantry Luger had the little 4-inch barrel. So this is a K98 infantry rifle, German, and it has the Iron Cross. It's embedded in about a dozen places on here. I think this was probably a war trophy that a veteran brought it back. Here is another 1917 World War I era bayonet. Here's another one, and then here we have the bugle. This is a 1911 A1 pistol that non-coms and officers carried. And then we enter the Airborne. This is 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles. There's the eagle. He's got his mouth open. They call them the Screaming Eagles. I can't put everything on the mannequin because he'd fall over because it's so heavy. But he had his trench knife that he strapped to his leg, and that would make it readily available in case he got into problems and needed it. This is a Thompson submachine gun that a lot of the Airborne used because it was so short. This is an Alt 3 Springfield, World War I era. It's bolt action. You had to fire a round, cycle the bolt, feeds a new round, you're ready to fire again. This is the M1 Garand. This is a rifle that George Patton, one of the famous World War II generals, says the best battle implement ever made. And it shot an end-block clip of 8 rounds. When it was empty, the clip would fly out. That was an indication that the soldier needed to put a new clip in and ready to go. This is M16 rifle. It would fire, made by Colt. It would fire automatic or semi-automatic. Either one. Shot a little 223 round. And this is the typical gear that the soldiers wore. There's a pack. This is a documented Vietnam helmet that was worn during combat in Vietnam. This is their flak vest with their smoke bombs. Vietnam was an airborne war. In other words, they had helicopters, they had all kinds of air support, and the flyers needed to know where our troops were. So the soldiers would take different color, and they had about 8 different colors, and they would mark, they would pull the pin, throw it, okay, we got grape, or we got mustard, or lemon. They had little slings for the colors, and that told the air support guys, okay, our soldiers is where the yellow smoke is, if they pop yellow. And then anything to the west, north, whatever, was enemy, and that's where they would bomb and shoot. All the soldiers in the unit would wear this bandolier of cartridges. They would put it over their uniform like so, and then that way the M60 Squad Machine Gun would have plenty of ammo, because this is heavy, shot 308 round. And this is a typical pack that a soldier would wear. He would have 2 canteens because he couldn't carry enough water. He would have all the grenades that he could carry, and he'd have all the ammunition that he could carry. This is where their ammo was kept. Of course, I don't have any, and these were the typical boots that they wore during Vietnam. This is experimental radio, squad communications radio. The soldier could receive instructions, but he could not talk back to the person talking to him. Outside, we have the M274a5 Mule. It was developed to replace the old Jeep. Wasn't successful. Soldiers didn't like it. It was slow. It would go nearly anywhere, and it would haul as much weight as it weighed. It's about 1,000 pounds, and it haul 1,000 pounds. It wasn't successful because, like I say, the soldiers didn't like it. It's Vietnam era. You don't see many of them. This is actually a sand mule for the Marines. The reason it's a sand mule, it's got the extra wide cleated tires and the extra wide fenders. And then as it assaulted a beach, it would kick up sand, and it kept the sand somewhat from getting on whatever they would carry. Some of the mules had a 106 recoilless rifle on them. Mine has an M2 machine gun, the old Maldeus as soldiers call it, and they would haul injured troopers. They would have all kinds of gear. They would haul munitions, food, water, whatever they needed to haul around, that was available.